Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this evening's Cabinet meeting. A few announcements to begin with. The fire evacuation procedures. There are no fire alarms scheduled for this evening. Therefore, if the fire alarm does sound, please evacuate the building immediately. The fire exit is located to the side of the room. Exit through reception, and we will meet in the War Memorial Park. The meeting this evening is being webcast live on the internet and will be available on YouTube for viewing after the meeting. Please check with officers for confirmation. In terms of microphones, can I remind members and officers, and we have a visiting councillor this evening, that in order to be heard clearly within the room, can those present on the webcast speak clearly into the microphone, and the microphone stem can be moved if you need to. Mobile phones, can we all switch them off or turn them to silent, please? This evening's agenda, there are no apologies for absence. We are all here and present. Do I have any declarations of interest, please? None. There are no urgent matters. The minutes of the meeting on the 7th of December will be approved at the Cabinet meeting on the 5th of December. So 7th of November for the 5th of December. We will wait for those to be presented. Which takes us neatly onto the item on the agenda this evening, which is the Manydown North Land Drawdown. And I'd like to ask Councillor Cubitt, please, to introduce the paper.
Thank you very much, Leader, and good evening to everybody. I have to say, I never thought we'd get to this place. And I can't thank this Cabinet enough for the inordinate amount of work that has been expended in the last 6 months to get us to where we've got to. And it is a seismic event, and it is an extraordinary Cabinet meeting, and we are about to embark on a very exciting next phase in the story of the history of Basingstoke and Deane. I also can't thank the Chief Executive enough and his team for really going the extra mile in the last 5 months. It was not inevitable that we got to where we got to today. And I think it's very telling when you, I did. I looked back at all the previous council plans, all the way back to 2013. And of course, I've been a councillor for 15 years. So I've eat, drunk, whatever, the history, the saga, the fiasco that has been Manydown for these 15 years. And I have scars on my back as a result, personally. But I think it's very telling that since 2013, the Manydown was in each council plan as a really important area that the council was going to focus on in order to develop the land that it had committed from 2016 onwards to develop. And, we spent £10 million of council taxpayers' money, and we promised those council tenants that if they agreed to the transfer of their stock, that we would use that money to buy land to build more houses for them. And that was back in 1996. And now we're 2023. But I go back to this council plan issue because it's extraordinary that the previous administration removed any reference to Manydown in the most recent council plan. So it was a bit of a magician's act in that it was in the 2013, the 2016, every single one, even Councillor Rattigan's council plan made reference to Manydown, but the most recent one didn't. So we're here at this extraordinary cabinet meeting, which is a momentous occasion and is going to be transformational. And I am so excited that we have finally got there, that we are going to be able to fulfil the promises that we made to our council tenants back in 1996, that we are hopefully going to be able to get our local plan back on track, because of course we haven't had a 5-year housing supply, and in very large part we haven't had a 5-year housing supply because we haven't delivered on this strategic site, which in 2016 we said we were going to build on the northern part and build 3,500 houses by 2028. And of course we're 2023 and the deal hadn't been done, and not one brick has been laid. And so this is all very exciting. It means that we are now on the road to finalising this extremely significant land deal. It means we're on the road to being able to have proper planning of our borough, because of course by not proceeding with Manydown during the time frame that the previous administration was supposed to, our planning has been the Wild West, because we haven't had a 5-year housing supply. So we've had planning by appeal and not planning by design. It means that hopefully we can produce the infrastructure. It means hopefully we can build beautiful communities. It means hopefully we will build lots more affordable housing, which we need for our housing list, where we've got 5,000 people on the list. As you probably can tell, this is a subject close to my heart. It's a subject that's very close to all of our hearts, that we've been involved with for many, many years. It was one of our central priorities as a new administration, not least of which because we have spent an inordinate amount of money on getting to the place that we're at now. And so it's only right that we proceed. And it's also exciting that we're going to have the parkland. One third of the site is going to be country park. I suppose if there's anything that I can thank the previous administration for, it is that they spent an inordinate amount of time on the country park, even though they hadn't done a deal. But we're gonna deliver the houses. So on that note, I commend this paper to the Cabinet, and I commend the officers and our partners for all their hard work since May this year. I can't thank you enough for your professionalism and for your hard work in getting us to where we've got to. Thank you.
John, do you want to come forward? Just while John comes forward, to clarify just one important point in terms of the actual recommendations that are before us this evening, it's important just to point out that on the paper, where we refer to the Manydown Company Limited, we're also referring to related companies, including the Manydown 2018 Limited and the Passdown Property Company Limited. Those elements form part of what we mean when we say the Manydown Company Limited. So that relates to the 5 recommendations before us this evening. John, can I just clarify, you're not talking on the pink papers, you are only talking on the white papers, and you have 4 minutes to talk on the white papers. You just clarify that for me on the microphone.
Right, yes, gosh, yes, well, there we go. I'm not talking on the pink papers, no.
Thank you very much, John. You've got 4 minutes.
Thank you. And this is a subject that's very close to my heart as well. So good evening, Leader and Cabinet. My purpose in coming to speak tonight as the former portfolio holder responsible for Manydown for many years until last May as part of the Conservative administration is to say how pleased I am that this important stage, an agreement in principle to draw down the land from the Manydown Company, has been achieved. I do not wish to go into the confidential financial details this evening, as I've said, but the broad heads of terms are recognisable to me from my time as portfolio holder. Clearly, the absence of a Section 123 valuation is a concern, but I'm sure that our professional advisors have been a sufficient party to the negotiations so that this will not become a problem. I therefore congratulate the new portfolio holder on this prospective outcome and wish her every success in finalising everything by the target date of 24th December. I agree wholeheartedly that it has taken too long to get to this point, for which I accept my share of responsibility. Too many obstacles have had to be overcome because of our deadly, cumbersome planning and procurement systems, and because of those who have long wanted to stop Manydown being developed for new homes. I'm also glad for Sue Curtin, Andrew Reynolds and the rest of our officer team that this key stage is being delivered. I note also Councillor Cubitt identifies with Winston Churchill in his words about blood, toil, sweat and tears, and can associate my time with those sentiments, if not perhaps tears. Certainly the decision we took to put our officers and those of Hampshire County Council into direct negotiation with the Manydown Company was the right one in achieving this result, and I'm glad that this has been maintained by the current Cabinet. The Manydown team now at Hampshire County Council is an effective partner for the borough. The cross-party support that I was able to count on, especially at the Manydown Overview Committee, is one I was always grateful for. Looking ahead, I hope that as a new council, our shared objective of building an exceptional new community at Manydown North for the people of Basingstoke can now proceed with renewed pace.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you. Audley, would you like to respond, or we? No, that's fine. Well, thank you, John. You're welcome. And I hope that we've given you a warm feeling like we gave your leader at full council. That would be... As Simon said, we gave him a warm feeling at full council. I hope you're sharing that warm feeling this evening. Oh, okay. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much for your comment. Russell.
Thank you, Joe. Just for Councillor Isaac's benefit, the draft Section 123 report is available on Modern Gov. So it went out a couple of days after the other papers, but it is available for you to look.
Yeah, absolutely. Just for absolute clarity, there is a full document suite this evening that covers all of the heads of terms, all of the documentation on pink papers that we're not discussing this evening. And in addition to that, there is a further pink paper issued on modern.gov for all councillors that relate specifically to the Manydown North Law drawdown, and it is the Section 123 report. So all documentation is there, respecting not everyone, as John says, may have seen it on the actual portal, but it is all there. Colleagues, would anybody like to comment on the paper this evening? Councillor James.
Well, thank you, Leader. I just like Councillor Cubitt. I was the class of 2008, You and I have obviously done very well, others not so well. Renil, for one. At that stage, it's hard to believe that we'd owned Manydown for 12 years, and the county council, due to the influence of a county councillor called Stephen Reed, refused to promote the land for development. And that meant it was all left to the borough to do. It's a Conservative administration at the county council. Roll on a few years, and we desperately tried, and we were both sitting on P&I in those days, planning and infrastructure, to get Manydown spoken about in the creation of that council plan, and were told by the chairman of P&I, which happened to also be a councillor, Stephen Reed, to say we couldn't do it. It wouldn't be discussed, we weren't having it. Eventually the High Court sorted it out, and yet, a decade later. So it's had a really, really checkered history, and I feel absolutely no responsibility at all for the reason for the delay. And I'm delighted that we have achieved in 5.5 months what previous administrations haven't achieved in the years since we bought it. And I'm delighted we can now create the Basingstoke that was envisaged by the purchase of the Manydown in the first place. But of course the hard work really starts now, and we should be looking to the future, not the past. The future is exciting, but it's daunting. We have infrastructure to deal with, which obviously that journey starts very, very quickly indeed. And I think it's important, because people would have said, hang on, it took so long to get nowhere, and now you've got this far so quickly, to give that reassurance that we are still absolutely committed as a cabinet to making a fantastic place to live, where the benefits of what we create at Manydown will be felt by the residents of Winklebury, of Rooksdown, of Buckskin, and they too will feel, I can't promise that during the construction phase it's going to always be easy, because that's the nature of construction, but at the end of it we would have created a fantastic addition to Basingstoke from which we'll all benefit, and we'll all be visiting that country park. But also to provide reassurance for the residents of Oakley, that strategic gap is not up for grabs, it's not up for negotiation, it is still there. We will protect the village of Oakley and the village life that you love and enjoy as we develop Manydown as a great extension to Basingstoke. So I wanted to provide that reassurance that the Cabinet are not rushing through this blindly. We recognise the challenges over the years, we recognise the feelings and strength of feeling in those communities in and around the area, and we're listening to you, and we'll always listen to you, and we'll do our best for you, as well as making sure that we provide great homes and a great community for the future of Basingstoke. Thank you.
Councillor Kuzneczka.
Thank you, Paul. I'm very proud to be part of a cabinet that is making this decision tonight, and huge congratulations and thanks to Onley and the officer team for making this happen. It really is a huge achievement, and anyone who's seen the history of the project will realise just what a huge step this is. From my perspective, as the portfolio holder for strategic planning and infrastructure, as someone who is attempting to push through the next local plan update, this is really welcome news. It means that when we talk to the inspector, we've got a much stronger case in terms of our ability and our story around delivering Manydown, both Manydown North and Manydown South, which are going to form an important part of the next local plan update. And what that means is we're hopefully not going to have to include any additional sites, any unwanted additional sites within that local plan as a result of the additional confidence we've got in Manydown, and that all flows from the decision we're taking today. So really pleased that this is finally here, really pleased to be part of the team that is going to make this happen. So thank you all very much, and as Gavin says, there's a lot more work to do, but I think we ought to celebrate everything that has been achieved as well. Thank you.
Colleagues, Councillor James.
Thank you. I'd also like to echo what's been said tonight. I'd like to say a really big thank you to the Chief Executive and the staff team for everything that's been done and all the real hard work that you've done over this period of time. And I know that you came under immense pressure from the Cabinet, but I'd like to say a really big thank you for what you've done. And I also particularly want to say thank you to Councillor Onley Cubitt for what she's achieved. And I know that she did put everybody under enormous pressure during that time, but we wouldn't expect anything other than that from Onley as well. But from my point of view, from the Cabinet, my Cabinet position in relation to the delivery of affordable housing, this is essential. We're much needed affordable housing on this site, and I look forward to seeing that developed and seeing our housing register reduce. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Oh. So before I let Onley sum up, I just want to say a few words myself, actually, because in all the years I've been on the council, I don't think there's a single year we haven't lived and breathed many down in some different shape or form, either from it being kicked out of a local plan and the council finding itself in the High Court as a result, either it coming out of local plans because local plan inspectors decided to listen to other voices than the reasoned voices of the need for affordable housing. It's always been an issue, and it would be wonderful, wouldn't it, to think that going forward, just as has been suggested, the cross-party support continues so that this is actually now delivered in a way that we can all be really proud of. I would just like to call out and say huge thank you to Andrew, because you have lived and breathed this for many, many years, and your efforts are really, really appreciated, and thank you. I really do notice, and it should be on record, the effort and the work that's gone into it, and so thank you, Andrew. It's appreciated. I think I'd also just like to pick out an important point that we've already started to allude to, but I just want people to think about. If we've got over 5,000 people on the housing waiting register, the one thing that Manydown North offers us with the volume of development that is now possible is the best part of 1,400 affordable homes. Now, they're not going to be delivered overnight. We get that. But the ability to say now, because we are close to finalising the deal, that we will be able to create that amount of affordable housing certainly helps me sleep better when I realise that the money to purchase Manydown was from the council house sales in 1994. All those people that put a cross in the box to agree to sell their council houses did so on the premise that we would deliver more social affordable housing in the borough. And we can now honour that promise. That's the challenge for us, to hold this together now over the next period, all of the work that needs to be done, because it doesn't, as if it's going to stop now, it starts even more earnest, really, when you think about it. And the ability to deliver on that, the infrastructure first that has been said, that the infrastructure gets put in a way that enables the placemaking. And the placemaking is really important. It isn't just about building houses, it's the placemaking that we're talking about that is really important. We have good partners to work with, and we need to really welcome them now in their expertise and what they're going to do for us now to take the project on to the next stage, which is see the homes delivered, actually built, and the places made. And so really, this decision this evening is the culmination of an awful lot that's gone on, but it's also the starting point for the next chapter. And the next chapter is the delivery of Manydown, and that is absolutely wonderful to be able to say that. This is about now the actual delivery of Manydown, and that is something that is absolutely groundbreaking for our communities. And me and Andy have been going around the borough talking to parishes at the moment, and one of the very first questions we get, have you done Manydown yet? Is Manydown going to happen yet? Everybody out there wants to know, have we got Manydown across the line? Well, we're going to. We are there finalising the deal, and the recommendations in front of us this evening relate specifically to the delegations that are required to finalise this whole arrangement. So, Anneli, before we go through the recommendations, would you like to have the final word?
Yes, so no, I mean, it's been a joy to work with you all. It's been a joy to work with the officers. They might not say the same thing in return. But Councillor Gavin James made a very important point as well, which is that the existing settlements are incredibly important to us. And beauty is incredibly important to us. And the environment and the placemaking. So the beauty, the environment, the placemaking, the existing settlements. I have many, many friends from that side of the borough. We want to be good custodians of this development, and we want to be proud of what we achieve. And we feel very strongly that the partners and the officers hopefully will absolutely ensure that we get that. So in summary, this was a main priority. It's essential for so many other things that we've got that I was just talking to somebody, and I said that every time I've been meeting people since we assumed control in May, is that Basingstoke and Dean had got very constipated. And it had been constipated for quite a few years because there are so many huge projects that we have been promised for so long and that haven't happened. And this transaction, and I liken it to the Rubik's Cube, is the key to alleviating our constipation. There you go. Well, my other favourite subject, of course, is sewage. So just going back to 1996. Going back to 1996, the council wanted to buy this land to achieve a properly planned, comprehensive development of the area. We're going to do that. It wanted to secure land for low-cost housing in accordance with the then existing council policy. We're going to do that. And it wanted to achieve a financial gain, which in turn could put, in whole or in part, back into future housing initiatives, and we're going to do that. It's a key priority. We're getting on track, and the outcome, the significant consequences of this are outstanding, exciting, and really momentous. Thank you.
Thank you, Annalie. I'm going to stay with the Rubik's Cube analogy. That's okay. All right. Not the laxative. I like that. I like that. It's good. It's good. Okay, colleagues. So we got 5 recommendations in front of us, and just to be absolutely clear what we're doing here, the first recommendation delegates authority to the officer team and the cabinet member to conclude the negotiations with the Manydown Company in line with the principles that are set out in the report. Of course, taking due context of due diligence and following the gateway review to complete the purchase of the Manydown North land deal. Are we agreed to recommendation 1? Agreed. The second recommendation approves the principles of the joint venture agreements and, again, delegates authority, will fulfil the authority, to make sure that the project can move forward, and working with our partners and the council officers to agree any minor amendments and finalise the agreements. Do we agree to the recommendation 2? Third recommendation again relates to the overarching business plan, and again delegates authority, looks to give the authority to finish and finalise the documents and minor amendments in accordance with the contractual agreements as they're signed. Do we agree to item 3? 4 delegates authority to officers and the cabinet member to authorise the release of the MDV budget, and subject to a cap of 1.5 million being the release for the freehold transfer of the land being completed. Do we agree to number 4 on the recommendations? Agreed? And the final recommendation, item 5, delegates authority to the executive director and the cabinet member for regen and major projects to consider any recommendations or comments arising from the Manydown Overview Committee to inform the gateway review process as outlined in recommendation 1. Do we agree? Okay, colleagues, we have agreed all 5 items on this paper this evening, and that concludes the paper. There are no other items to consider. There is no need to exclude the public. I call the meeting to a close. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.